All right, man. We're finally doing it.
All right.
All
We're
right.
here.
Yep, we're here.
Okay.
It only took us, what, 9 months?
Something like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So I guess I'll quickly start with kind of the goal of this. Obviously, we'll break down everything, but David here has made some incredible changes over this last year. So I think the goal here is to share it, and from kind of numerous perspectives, from kind of the coach perspective as well as the client perspective, and going over things that help, things that work, things that didn't work, constraints, even historically going over the issues you've had even in adolescence and things like that. And then, like we were just chatting about, the kind of catalysts for change. And then the things that, resonated with you, again, to reiterate, work, didn't work, the different trial and error process. And again, going through it from kind of different perspectives of yours and mine as well. So this first one, we're just going to kind of fuck around and chat about it, So I'll let you take over for a little bit so you can just go over basic bio, intro, whatever, and we'll just kind of keep bouncing off of it.
So my name's David. I've been cutting Chase's hair. I'm his barber for quite a while now. That's kind of how our friendship, our relationship started. And it was... I've always struggled with my health, my weight, and I just kind of had a point where I was going through a breakup, and it's fine now because we're married. But but that was kind of my catalyst, my ground zero of like, okay, it's time to make this change, and just kind of doing some introspective work. And so I tapped you in, which I think that's a great place to start because your industry, your job is so relationship focused and relationship based. Yeah. So I really wanted to outline that relationship portion. You were somebody that was already a part of my life, so that was kind of an easy tap in. It was just, I was ready to make that change, and I knew we had talked multiple times when I was cutting your hair about your knowledge, your background, that sort of thing. So that relationship part was kind of organic already. And then, I would say we kind of just tried to bridge that gap of like when I made that decision to day one being as short as possible. So what's kind of your process there? Like if you take on a client, I guess, first of all, do you notice a lot of people have that ground zero, that breaking point? Is that generally when people come to you, or is it like, hey, I've been thinking about this forever?
Yeah.
What do you notice more?
Yeah. No, good question. And I'd say it depends, but I'd lean more towards most have some sort of moment. At least that's what we learn like early on when we're doing sales stuff of training. They really push of like, why and why now? Like, what happened? Did you look at the mirror and you're like, fuck, God damn it, I let myself go? Did you hit an additional belt loop? Did you try to go up a flight of stairs? Something. I do think there is a moment, and it probably is a compounding thing of a bunch of stuff historically happening. Yep. But there probably is this like pseudo straw that broke the camel's back too, where people are, all right, it's really fresh on their mind. Now, do people then use that, I guess, fuel to reach out to someone or do something about it? I don't know. It probably takes people 30 of those for them to really being like, you know what, I need to get some help. And I also don't know what does help mean. Obviously, we had this relationship for, 3-ish years. So he was already cutting my hair for 2-ish years beforehand, already had some context of your life and some of your fitness and weight struggles and stuff like that. Yep. So we kind of got this like fast forward thing. Normally I probably wouldn't know that about a client.
Right.
So I think you already felt comfortable of, I probably need a little bit of help and guidance. Chase is a cool guy. I'd love to just kind of reach out and kind of see what this means and stuff like that. But I do think for most people, again, there probably is some sort of moment that does something where they're either, I'm going to get on Google and find a weight loss program, start supplementation or whatever. I still think, and obviously I'm extremely biased because this is what I do, if you have even a friend, loved one, someone in the health fitness industry that you trust and could reach out to, I think that will be a better approach than just, all right, I'm going to Google weight loss and just choose the first system that gets thrown on my face or whatever. But yeah, I would definitely say that there's something that kind of breaks out of like, all right, I need to figure this shit out.
Right. Right.
And again, for all of you guys out there or whatever that have gone through that, yes, I do think you should try to kind of use that as fuel, because it can be rocket fuel, you
Yeah.
know, to
Yeah.
really get you started. And that can be just extremely hard. Is that first building inertia of pushing that fucking boulder is so incredibly hard. It's very, very daunting. And I think, again, not to keep tooting my own horn, but if you can find someone that you like and trust, they can just help take some of that off your plate, so you
Right.
feel more comfortable, you feel more confident that this is going to actually go somewhere. Because most people, they've probably already tried 30 or 40 times, you
Right.
know? So
Right.
it does hit this point where you feel like, man, I want to kind of throw in the towel at this point in time, you know?
Yeah, and I mean, for some context, I started out about 245 pounds when I started working with Chase, and then through just over a year, we cut down to about 185, and then we're kind of training past that now, working on some other goals. But you said something earlier, which is, I needed some help, but the reality is that like I understood the diet perspective more than anything else. I had no clue when it came to the exercise portion. That's something that I've never approached in my life, never learned from any friend or anything. Like, I really hadn't spent any time in the gym, but I had these bouts of weight loss in my life. So I did have some strategies for that, but some would have the opinion, and I would agree, that they were failed strategies because they never stuck.
Sure.
I could get down 40 pounds, but then within the next year I would end up back where I started.
Sure.
And so I had the concepts, but it was really figuring out how to have that lifestyle change and that permanent change. And you were really helpful with like, okay, you kind of gave me some parameters for the diet stuff, but you were kind of like, you understand that portion, but let's really focus on that. Let's stay consistent. You were keeping me accountable with that, and then adding in the exercise portion.
Totally.
So with all that in mind, I had a little bit of this knowledge. What do you do when somebody comes to you and they have absolutely nothing? Is it like, here's everything day one? Or is it, I'm going to give you small pieces of the puzzle that we're going to slowly build on over the first X amount of weeks, months?
Sure. Yeah, no, and that's a good question. So this is where it's tricky, because even the person that's like knows nothing, they've been influenced in some way, shape, or form over however long they've been living. You know, and it could be with their moms. Like, I remember my mom being like, I swear I was probably 10 years old, and seeing some muscly guy and like, those are milk muscles or whatever. You know what I mean? So we all have these things, whether accurate or entirely inaccurate, that have influenced us on what we think health, fitness, nutrition looks like, what it should feel like, how hard it should be. So for me, kind of day one, and I do want to come back because I want you to share as well, like a quick of like what you've gone through and what you've done and weight and stuff like that as well too. But yeah, so kind of first one is I do kind of want to hear them out, because since I've been doing this for a while, I'll get a good sense of kind of where they at and what their beliefs are kind of around. Because you also have to be careful of like, you don't just want to shit on people's beliefs, even if they're entirely incorrect. And I can say, here's all the literature that's wrong. That's not how you want to start a relationship, you know? Just you're a fucking idiot, you know? So it is kind of, let's hear them out. I want to hear everything, man. The struggles, the different pain points, the different hurdles they've gone through, their relationship with nutrition, with fitness, with health, and things like that. Because it does get deep. It's deep and it's heavy, you know? They could add some fucking gym teacher in 5th grade that made them feel like a fat piece of shit, and they never wanted to go back to the gym again, you know? So for me, it is kind of like, let's try to gather as much context, because even if they're like fresh, they still got something going on. And then what I try to do, kind of zoomed out big picture, is I want to help them reframe all this stuff. I want to help them rebuild a relationship with health and fitness and stuff like that, and realize that it doesn't have to be this punishment thing. I think so many individuals think it needs to be a punishment. You need to suffer through it. And yeah, punishing yourself from years of inactivity or eating like shit or whatever. And that's not the goal of this. And I don't think that is healthy if that's how you're viewing this, and if that's how your perception of this is. I don't know if this is going to be long-term sustainable. And that's what I always kind of come back to, you know? And that's why, not to go on a full tangent, people, they live in these 1 month, 2 month, 3 months, and it's like I tell people like, no, this is forever. Like this is not a 6 month thing. It's not a 9. It's not even a fucking year thing. It's forever, dude.
Right.
And like we've talked about, you might go through phases of, I'm going to gain a little bit, cut a little bit more. But for the most part, it's like you got to stay pretty damn consistent with general activity, eating 80-70% good for the rest of your life.
Right.
So I try to attack everything with that of like, let's try to find the most sustainable, approachable system for you. You know, like let's use these kind of overriding principles of needing a calorie debt, blah, 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 and kind of create it for a system that works well for your life, and not you just trying to jam in a system that might not work so well for you,
Yeah, and I think the thing is saying that it's forever slowly turns from this daunting, overbearing news to like really great news. But it's bridging the gap between those two feelings that is really difficult. So it kind of sounds like you really try to attack the psychological side of things first, almost before, because the gym stuff is like 4 hours a week. The eating stuff is obviously quite a bit more than that, but is also a little bit more on the psychological side of things. So you really try to attack that with the person, hear where they're coming from, etc.
100%. Yeah, I think the psychology side is pretty much everything, and that's why I explain it's like the reason why you would start something, stop something, feel motivated, feel encouraged, feel discouraged, it's all up here, you know? And this takes a tremendous amount of time. So I am very, very much focused. And that's why like during our sessions and what I check in weekly so much, like how are you feeling about this? Because you could have gained 9 inches in your arm and you're still like, this sucks or whatever. So it's like, I need to know what is going on in here. Because I don't think like obviously this strength training gym side, of course it's nuanced to a millionth degree, but still in my head, it's relatively simple of these sets times reps. Let's figure out the stimulus we're trying to chase or whatever, and then let's try to match it to what the person likes and blah, 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 blah. I still think that's relatively simple compared to the psychology side of things, where you're bombarded by influences, by different levels of energy and motivation and discipline every single day. And even with things going great, like on my sheet that I have all your workouts, everything's going, you could still feel immensely discouraged. So if my proxy of like how this is going is only the progression, I might be missing a huge thing because people have things have been going well and people have just fallen off, So that's why it's like, I want to be able to combat any psychological thing before it even comes, And usually there's signs like, and sometimes it can go from, it was great to just horrible, but usually you're going to start stepping that way. And that's why like, how are you feeling? Are you feeling like you're burning out? Are you feeling like you're giving up life? Are you feeling like all of this stuff? And it is very, very important to be honest and communicate with your coach. And that's like another big thing with my clients. Like, I need to know, even I fucking hate this shit. Like, please let me know. Because it's not about me and paying my bills or whatever. Like, this is for you and your goals. So it's like, I absolutely need to know those things. So I think the psychology stuff is extremely important. And for any like coaches out there, it's like, spend a lot of time on learning about motivation, biopsychosocial model of motivation and discipline and getting stuff done as well. Because you need to know that through and through and have good communication with your clients. If you're someone that works with Gen Pop and people that are making or trying to create and make these lifelong changes. So I think absolutely you need to know a ton about the psychology part of stuff.
Did you kind of start out with that approach, or?
No, I mean, that was kind of later on. I can't remember what year, but I know there was, I was super obsessed with mainly again, rep sets, all that stuff, exercise selection, learning about hypertrophy and strength performance. And then there was a couple years where I did delve more into the psychology side of things. Because again, it was like, if we don't have this, we don't have anything at all, And you can have the best program, like theoretical program on paper, but if it doesn't gel well with a client and their constraints and weaknesses and strengths and what they love to do, it's out the fucking window, And everything that goes into it as well, too, It's like I've heard like owners of gym being like, I'd rather hire the bartender than the kid that just got out of college that doesn't know how to talk to people. That's also a big part of it as well too. If you're going to work with people one-on-one, they need to enjoy being there.
Yeah,
They need
absolutely.
to enjoy being around you,
Yep.
you know? And
Yep.
obviously you don't want to bleed into this just chatting for the whole hour,
Right.
but if they don't want to be around you, I don't know if it's going to be super duper successful.
Yep.
So it's all of that stuff, you know?
Yep.
So there's things that from an outside view, people might be like, man, they're just chatter. And I'm like, no, this is part of it as well.
Yeah.
Like some of it, not that some of our conversations don't run away, but some of
Yeah.
it is strategic of like,
Totally.
I want David to enjoy being here.
Right.
You know, like
Right.
I have gotten the like, this is the highlight of my day stuff. And that brings me so much fucking joy.
Totally.
Because you're taking someone that probably this was the worst part of their day, even thinking about it, to then transitioning to, highlight is huge, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
no, yeah, the psychology stuff is ginormous. So
I mean,
dude,
just to let the cat out of the bag, like as a barber, that's 90% of my job
Ex-
too.
exactly,
I know
yeah.
barbers that they got their clients got the line and the haircut.
Yes.
It's terrible haircut, but people are lined up out the door because they want to hang out with them.
100%.
So much of what we do as humans is driven by that.
100%.
What were you gonna ask?
I was gonna say go through a little bit of yours, and obviously we'll fuck around with this one, but I'd love to hear just some of from growing up.
Yeah.
Some of the issues, for lack of better terms, health, food, weight. Kind of go through all of that. And then I want to start at kind of step one of kind of what we did, and maybe we'll do this kind of zoomed in, zoomed out approach. But kind of take it away from there.
So I grew up in a super small town in Nebraska, and from day one, nobody in that town, in the area, really had a concept of health, fitness, nutrition, any of that sort of stuff. I mean, there were the jocks in high school and, the coaches and stuff, but that was like, I mean, my high school class was 36 people, so that was 2 or 3 kids.
Christ.
You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
It wasn't substantial at all. And PE was very much what you referenced earlier, where it's like it almost feels like a punishment more than anything. And so I think from day one, my parents didn't understand nutrition or kind of how to set us up for success on that route.
Okay.
And I think just naturally, I'm somebody that has more food noise in their head and has a higher appetite. And so I was just kind of allowed to eat until I was full, which was basically never.
Sure.
And so ever since I can remember as a little kid, I was just always big. And a lot of people in my family, especially on my dad's side, are the same way.
Okay. Because what did food look like? Like, what was a typical, even 5th, 6th grade? What was a normal week like for you? Food? Was it going through drive-throughs? Was it just consuming too much, or was it just, all right, we got spaghetti and meatballs tonight? Like, what was that kind of like?
I mean, I'd say it was yes to all of the above.
Okay,
It was like, hey, we're gonna do cereal for breakfast, and then huge lunch at school, because it was kind of like a all you can eat kind of situation. And then dinner was heavy pasta or maybe a drive-through or something like that. But my parents just never really regulated the portions. They never regulated from a food quality standpoint because they didn't understand that information.
Sure.
And that's something that I've had to really work on, not harboring resentment for as I've gotten older, is understanding that it wasn't malintent. It was just a total lack of understanding. Yeah. And so that was basically my entire childhood. It was just like, we're going to go to the country buffet on Sunday, and you have 6 plates of food and 6 glasses of soda. And as long as you're happy, we're happy. Yeah. And so, it was just, I never knew that the two things were coupled together. Your fitness, your health, and nutrition. I never knew that. Or, once I started getting older, exercise, obviously, because you see people's physical results. Sure. But from a nutrition standpoint, I just had no idea. That basically continued all the way throughout high school. Just total unadulterated, eat what you want. It's more of an emotional thing than a physical health thing. When I got to college, I just stumbled on some random podcasts, and this is when keto was still kind of being called the Atkins diet.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, that sounds easy. I should try that. And so I basically just started eating meat and vegetables for a year. And I think I went from 270-ish down to about 195 just through completely through diet alone.
And around what age?
19.
19.
Yeah.
Okay. And then just to rewind you really
Yeah,
quick. Do you remember weight wise what you were kind of growing up? That's part
Not
one. And
really.
did you have any moment of being like, oh, I'm overweight? Did you go through any of
Yeah, I
that?
think
Were people mean to you with
Yes.
any of that stuff?
Yes.
And then I also want to touch on the activity side of things as
Okay.
well too. Did
Yeah.
you do any sports or any of that as well?
Okay, so definitely kids were mean to me. Like I always remember that.
Okay.
And I think at some point I just internalized that as kind of like a fact of,
And
I
from
was,
what age? Like really young?
Like pretty young. Yeah,
Okay,
like
okay.
probably, 5th grade or so,
Okay,
on, not on until people became mature enough to stop doing that shit,
Sure.
So probably, a good 7-8 years of my childhood, you know.
Okay. And from that small class size, were you one of the larger ones? Was there a few
Yeah,
other?
there was like 3 of us, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you feel like, it's a fucked up question, but did you feel like the fat kid in your
Yeah,
class?
yeah,
Was that-
absolutely.
Okay.
Always. Yeah.
Okay.
And I could never really wrap my head around why. Why was I, you know?
Sure. 'Cause it didn't seem like you're doing anything like crazy out of the ordinary from any of your other peers or anything like that too.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. And I guess the biggest thing I could always attribute it to was like I was never really interested in sports. I was never really interested in physical activity.
Okay.
Around 4th grade or so, I started playing drums, and that that can be somewhat physical,
Sure,
and so
sure.
that was kind of my sport of choice, if you will, throughout school. But never played sports. Never was super interested. I would go to like a football practice here and there and be like, is it something I'm interested in? Not really.
Okay.
And I think at the time I had also taken like a pretty heavy interest in computers and stuff. So then it's like, well, you're going to lock yourself up at home and learn how to, work on computers and that sort of thing. So I think the lifestyle that my brain kind of automatically wanted to take me towards, coupled with a poor nutritional atmosphere,
Not super conducive to
Right.
keeping a healthy weight range or
Right,
whatever.
exactly.
Which that is another, like I would love to on another episode or whatever, because I am also passionate about like, I get it. It's hard with children or whatever.
Right.
This is something I've talked to my girlfriend. I've talked to my mom about because my brother was like that. He was overweight and it's a very touchy subject when we talk about children and stuff like that. But I do have some good general ideas on how to have a relatively conducive, because the truth of the matter is if they're at any point, especially when they're growing up, they start having weight issues, it will be an uphill battle.
Yeah.
It just will, you know? So that's where, like, to rewind back, I don't think parents had ill intent or whatever, but there is, especially as I get older and whatnot, it's like, you have a responsibility to learn some of this stuff as well, you know? So you give your kids a good set of cards, you know, because it's a struggle for so many different reasons or whatever. So just a small sidebar that we'll chat about that a little bit later and whatnot. But yeah, you can kind of continue on. So drum stuff, you preferred music, computer stuff. Again, not the most conducive to burning a ton of calories. And then coupled up with nutrition side, again, it was just more kind of ignorance.
Yes.
And that's how mine was too. And I don't know that many, again, peers, friends, where it was like, we got chicken and like, it just was whatever, you know, it was just kind of whatever. And yeah, it is hard not to look back and like, motherfucking parent, you know, because in some, is it their fault? Like, in a lot of ways or whatever, but I don't know. I don't think that's the healthiest thing to just be like, what are you supposed to do? You know? And again, I understand too, they tried their best, blah, 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 or whatever. So,
I mean, and it just took a lot of work to realize like it's at this point just is what it is. And it's the work that I have to do now. You know,
100%.
it's nothing that I can take back and have them do over or change now. So, but you know, that just goes back to the psychology of all of this, where it's like that inner work is required. But so the interest in drums, computers, all that stuff kind of carried throughout high school.
Okay. And what around high school, not to cut through you again, weight wise, just so they can kind of
I would say, gosh, I don't even remember. But I want to say, I was probably around 200, maybe a little north of there.
Was there any weight loss between those? Because we were getting to the keto college age where there's a big drop. Between, again, just graduating high school and from being a child, was it just you went, north scale was going up this whole time? Or was there... I'm going to starve myself for 4 days because you're a kid and don't know how to fucking diet or whatever. I'm going to run in a bunch of sweatpants. Was there any intervention for weight loss during that phase?
No, nothing
Okay.
like that.
Okay.
And I don't even think that it was something that was like on my radar to do
Okay.
or want to do.
Okay.
It just kind of didn't exist,
Okay.
in
Okay.
my brain. So yeah, then, fast forward to college, first or second year of college, it was relatively soon after I got into college.
Okay.
I think I remember I was like walking through the parking lot and some kid said something about being fat. And I have no idea to this day if this person was talking to me or talking to one of his friends or whatever, but it just kind of flipped a switch in my brain. And I was like, I want to do something about this. Like, this has been 15 years of my life of feeling this way.
Yeah.
And then right around that time, I don't even think I was seeking it out. I just happened to listen to this podcast popped up on YouTube or something.
Okay.
And they were talking about the keto thing. So kind of went down that rabbit hole. Lost like 80 or 90 pounds in like a year on that. And then that just kind of got to a point where it just wasn't working for me anymore.
Okay.
And I didn't have a strategy to pivot to after that.
Okay.
So you could probably talk to that a little bit because I think that's a pretty common thing.
Yeah. No, and a few things go through my head. And again, just to kind of circle back, this is why all these things work, right? Again, keto could be great, carb cycling, intermittent fasting, blah, 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 blah. All of this is built on creating a calorie deficit, essentially, okay? So it's as simple as burning more calories than you are consuming. That is the principle. Now, the system, again, is the one where I break it down. What feels the least painful, essentially, like what makes you feel the least deprived when by definition, you have to deprive. So that's where it's like kind of funny and ironic because like, well, you have to, you know? So you are kind of it's like a controlled starvation, but how can we do this the simplest way, the way that gels the best with your life, where again, if you don't want to fucking track everything on MyFitnessPal or whatever, and this is why I understand a keto Atkins type, people like it because you just don't eat carbs. So it's relatively simple,
Right.
You don't generally have to count anything. At least that's how it's presented. And then also from the psychological side, you generally drop quickly.
Sure.
Because, and a good chunk of it is water and glycogen, whatever. But that's very motivating. Because the last thing you want to do is diet for a week or two, step on the scale, and you're down 0.5. You're like, God fucking damn it. That goes back to the brain. I'm putting in all this work, and I'm not getting a good return. Why am I doing this? Which is totally understandable. If someone said invest $1 million and you have a return of $2 after a year, you're like, what the fuck? Like, no, I'm not going to do that. So it's logical. I totally understand that. Again, the fear with it is, where do we go? So, and that's why I'm not anti-keto. I'm just like, what is the plan? So let's do it to 20 pounds. Then do we go back to a balanced approach? Maybe we should just try the balanced approach or whatever. But anyway, kind of long story long now is I've seen that a lot. If they hit a weight goal, or maybe they're close to their weight goal, and then they don't know what to do, or they hit this critical threshold of, I can't do this anymore, because they have been just kind of slowly suffering and suffering and suffering. And I think the thought is I'm going to suffer, but I'm going to see again the return on the investment, and it's going to motivate me and help me produce so much more discipline to just see it through for forever.
Yeah.
That's unfortunately not always the case. With you, I mean, that was a giant return on your investment. You lost a fuck ton of weight.
Right.
But what happened then?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's where it's like, this is just a fascinating thing to me. Yeah. And this is why I try to ask everyone. And it's not to try to ridicule or whatever. It's just, I truly want to know what happened. I don't know what to do. I'm fucking hungry and I want a carb. God damn it.
Right.
And then 6 years later, I still want carb. Like what happened?
Yeah. And
so I'll kind of throw that back to you.
Well, for me, I think it's like the context of the situation is that like, I didn't understand anything more about nutrition other than if I don't eat carbs, I will lose weight. I didn't understand what a calorie was. I didn't understand what any of the other macronutrients were. I had nothing other than X equals Y. So because of that, it was just like, okay, well, where do we go now? Because like the rest of my life, I'm gonna eat some carbs, you know? And then I think because of the psychology of continuing to restrict an entire macronutrient out of my diet, it was like, well, this isn't sustainable. So let me just go back to how I was eating before.
Sure.
And it wasn't like it wasn't an overnight switch.
Yeah,
it was like I feel pretty good at this weight, so let me slowly reintroduce how I was doing things before.
Sure.
So, and it was a little strategized in that way, but the plan wasn't there, And so next thing I know, I haven't stepped on a scale in 6 months, and I've gained 30 pounds back. So then that's discouraging, and so it just kind of snowballed from there.
Sure. Yeah, and even that, I mean, there's so many relatable things there. It's funny because I just messaged with a client this morning, an online client, that same thing. She's like, I didn't realize you can eat carbs and lose weight.
Right.
Like, it's just like she just thought, no, you need to be low carb to lose weight.
Right.
So I think that is a common thing, and is it because the popularity of Atkins and stuff? I don't know. It's all of the above for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. But yeah, for everyone out there, no, you can absolutely lose weight and eat carbs. But I understand they can also get away from you too. You can overconsume it. There's also a lot of myths when people are like, oh, it's carbs, it's ice cream. It's like, well, that has carbs and fat. You know what I mean? And it's also just very high in calories and whatnot.
Right.
But yes, I think that is a quite common story. And then, people don't really know what to do. And then the scale avoidance, that's another thing. And I've gone back and forth with this. This is hard, and this is pushing again in psychology. Because part of my brain is like, no, hop on that shit. Like, you want to play the ignorance game to not know? Just like I see people do, I don't want to look at my bank account. Why?
Right.
Because you're in debt, or because no, put that shit as your wallpaper.
Right.
You should know.
Right.
But obviously, you don't want to get it to the point where you're so fucking neurotic.
Exactly.
So that is that balance of it. Is I think you should look at the scale and be aware of that. Because again, awareness is number one, right? And at least that gives you ability to, again, not play the ignorance game, but sometimes we do that, I think, as protect your pride and ego. I didn't know. Motherfucker, you knew.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there were signs for sure. You knew. You just didn't want to know or think, well, it's not in my control or blah, 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 blah. But also, at that time, I don't think you had the tools to find a balanced approach on how can you maintain that for the rest of your life. And I think that is, again, a story that most people could tell about themselves as well, you know? One thing also, so when you dropped all that weight, was there any activity or exercise part of it? Or was it mainly just the nutrition side?
It was basically all just nutrition.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, I think because I was able to get around better, maybe there was some additional walks in there, that sort of thing, but it wasn't anything, to note.
Okay. And that is another thing too, where again, if we're trying to find something long-term sustainable, you need to have some sort of activity intervention as well too. The kind of analogy I give, because I can't get this amount of steps, I can't get this amount of workouts or whatever. And it's always a hard one for me to challenge and whatnot, because I know, like, from my heart, if you are extremely sedentary, and you quantify 2,000-3,000 steps a day, not really, it is very, very hard to have long-term success with just the nutrition side of things. It's just because, again, you're burning so little. For you to create that deficit, your calories need to be so fucking low.
Yeah.
And if you already had issues with weight and hunger, you probably have a higher amount of food noise too. So in that food noise, unless you're intervening with drugs or whatever, it's going to be there, you know? So thinking you're going to be able to fully shut that down, I think, again, is extremely unrealistic. And I think for those individuals, and I actually put myself in that as well, I have a big fucking appetite. I like shitty food. I need to keep activity relatively high, or it's not sustainable, you know? So, and we'll go in a sec of like what we started with, but generally with clients like that, before I even do we need to cut calories, I'm like, let's work at just trying to acquire a higher level of activity, because I think you need this. Yeah. And I think I got lost in my analogy. It would be if you're trying to save up for an $800,000 house and you make $12 an hour. Right. Is it real? It's not real. Is it sure. Never spend any money. Have your rent be $30 a month. Live in your car. It's possible, but it's not realistic at all. For that individual, if they want to really save up, they need to find a higher earning job. So I joke, it's earning potential, burning potential.
Sure.
You need to get that activity up for this to be sustainable in any kind of remote way possible, you know? And I also understand it's hard too.
Yeah.
You know, again, most individuals' lifestyle are not super duper conducive.
Right.
They work on the computer, they work on this. So that is another huge part of my coaching of like, we need to figure this out, not just for the calorie deficits, but also for health. Like we have enough data and information of like getting X amount of steps cause mortality rates and all these different things that drop so much. And that's what I try to attack it with as well too, going back to the psychology of like, how do we get something to do just hard shit? And again, it's that return on investment, okay?
Yeah.
It's value. So if I say, well, it's weight, it's health, you'll live longer, you'll put years on your life and life on your years. Visualize how your life could look fucking different, dude. You are out of breath going up a flight of stairs. So all these different things, like I tried to connect and add as much value as possible for people to be like, oh, sold.
Yeah.
I was only doing this so I'd look a little bit better and I thought maybe that would get me girls. It's like, that's fine as well too. But there's so much else in the health and performance side of things that I'm like, I promise you will start being like, holy shit, I feel so much better. This was so worth it.
Yeah.
Rather than only attacking image, which I think, again, it's fine. I don't want to be the image. It can absolutely be part of your goal. I don't know if it's strong enough for most people because I think they assume their life's going to change if they would. And it's like, not necessarily.
Sure.
I don't know if all these girls or men are going to flock to you. But if you also, again, just think about the feeling of feeling better and more in shape, more energy, and we'll go over all that stuff too of what you felt. I think then you'll start feeling like, oh, this was extremely valuable. So again, I just have numerous reasons, have numerous value points, numerous whys behind your goal, and not just weight, I think will also help with, again, the more of the psychology side of motivation and long-term adherence as well too.
No, I totally agree. And I think one of the things that was really helpful and valuable when we started out was you would tell me these things in just normal conversation, and I would hear them and think about them afterwards and be like, yeah, absolutely. But then we would keep going back to them,
sure,
you know, and we would revisit them from these different angles and really start to like break down. Like, I remember you telling me one time, you're like, I try not to guilt trip people too much in the gym, but if you're not getting your 10,000 steps, you might die sooner. That is one thing I'm hard on. And that stuck with me, you know? And so after that, it was like, okay, we've kind of let's take that one thing, the 10,000 steps as an example. We've kind of hit this from so many angles that value has been built to be like, no, okay, I'm actually willing to take out one of the haircuts in my day to go for that 30-minute walk because that is the return on investment that's going to keep me cutting hair for the next X amount of years or keep me in my wife's life or whoever for the next amount of years. So I think revisiting all those things and being able to have a coach that we can kind of have these, you know, macro perspectives of these different goals is like super helpful.
Yeah. No, and you know, it makes me happy to hear that. And I was chuckling because I'm like, man, I mean, just what you said there, I think we can do a full 3-hour podcast on because again, that is the psychology that I'm trying to figure out. You know, that's the stuff where I'm like, fuck, if I can wrap that up and give it as a gift, I'd be a quadrillionaire or whatever. And I don't know how to fully get there. And that's where some of it is throwing the kitchen sink out of it, kind of. You know, it's like, let's see if this resonates. No, let's see if this resonates. And it's hard because it's like, you might not have even said the wrong words. It might have just been the wrong time. It could, you know, so there's also this just don't give up too, whether you're the client or the coach or whatever, because you can say the same thing, but for whatever reason on July 8th, it just stuck with them and it's there. And it did have me think of habits, right? Because, I mean, that is the whole goal of this is let's see if we can start creating these different habits and stuff you do during your day, during your week that make it easier and more conducive to whatever your body composition is, right? And there's a lot of, I think, just kind of myths with habit. You know, it's 30 days. I don't think it's that simple. I don't like, again, yes, if you can do a habit for 60 days over 30, you're probably more likely to stick and actually like ingrain that habit. But I don't think it's just a day thing, you know? Yes, if you've been doing it for 3 years, you can probably say you have a habit there. But there is that of like, something needs to resonate with you. Again, going back to, this is shit it's not always going to be the number one thing you want to do.
Right.
Like that's just the truth of it. And that doesn't mean that somewhere, like I enjoy going to the gym, but there's some days I don't want to be there. There's some days I don't want to go for a walk when it's cold out or whatever. So there does have to be this, why are you doing it then?
Right.
You know, and that's
Right.
where I do go back to the values, the return on investment and stuff like that. But it does make it, I don't know, it's tricky. And
Yeah.
I wish there was this full formula too, which I can understand. It could be discouraging hearing this. I don't know, again, if there's a perfect universal formula.
Right.
But again, going back to the principles of like, just have some good, strong whys. And I think being able to chat through this stuff honestly as well too.
Yeah.
You know, like if you came back to me like, this is I don't think I should. And it's like, okay, but that's why, again, I'll have some data for you.
Right.
I'll be able to share different things of my life and my experience and other clients' experience and stuff like that. And I think with time and trial and error and stuff, I do think you have a higher probability of finding something that will kind of stick, you know?
Yeah.
Do you have anything else to add with that you felt helped with kind of the habits? And then maybe we'll rewind back and go back to kind of day one and kind of walk through.
You know, I think I'm still trying to figure that out. And I talked about it a little bit earlier, but there is a black hole in between this sucks, this is a lot of information, these are a lot of new habits, to I love all this information, these are the habits I want for my life. And it's how do we make that transition, you know? And so I think now, if we're talking a year and 4 months in version of me, these are non-negotiables. These are things that I don't care if I don't want to get up and do it. I'm doing it, you know? And so
it's like, how the fuck do we get there?
I don't know,
you know? And that's where like,
you have to get excited about it somehow. And I think that's what I've found. And we've talked about this strategy before. It's like, you've given me just enough information to get me curious on some of these things. And then I'm going out and I'm finding podcasts and YouTube videos. And I'm like, how does this NFL player train and eat? How does X, Y, and Z? And then I'm coming back to you. Hey, I watched this video. And you're like, okay, that's cool. Maybe this strategy works for them. And we're just chatting these things through. But I have along the way gotten curious enough about all this stuff to then integrate it into my life and become something that I'm like actually interested in.
Yeah. But that's the hardest thing. And
Totally.
I don't know. And I was laughing again because it's just reminded me of from my mom this a couple years ago, and she was wanting me to help my sister with saving money or some shit. And it was like, and my dad is an accountant CPA who actually works with David or whatever. So I grew up with all this shit. Divorced parents, so sister does not have the same dad. And it's like, I can teach all the different tricks and all this stuff, but what I can't is how to fucking care and be interested in it. And so I'm like, that's where it's hard. I don't really know, you know. I think, again, if you hit that rock bottom, whatever that moment is, I think that does, at least in the moment, force you to care.
Totally.
Because it puts it in your fucking face.
Yeah.
You fucking do something about this.
Yep.
Again, most people, I think they just kind of sidestep and brush it.
Right.
But it will keep presenting itself, you know?
Yes.
So again, it's like, I think you have to kind of use that fuel. And this words, and I hate reiterating, try to find a coach or what, you know? But I don't know another good way of, if you really want this to stick, it's going to be hard. And again, Google, go ChatGPT, like try all that stuff too, because I do think, again, if you're willing to continue to try and dust yourself off and be okay if you don't find gold or catch lightning in a bottle right away, you will continue to get closer. You know, I think people just get exhausted.
Yeah.
You know, they're like, they don't have that amount of resource left in the day to do all that shit, you know? So that's why I am like, if you can't afford it, like try to find someone, dude, because it's just going to take a ton of trial and error. So you play the game. You want to take 2 years of researching on your own, or would you rather get this done in 6 months, but it's going to cost you more money? Either way, it's money. It's 2 years of this, or you know, so either which way, Because again, I think there's too many myths out there, and there's too much marketing in the fitness space of people that just unfortunately kind of want your money,
Right.
And don't have really a care for your goals as their number one priority. And not to blame the people, sometimes it's just their system. It's not going to get through with
Right.
everyone, as well too. So I don't want to totally bash all the fitness people out there.
I think just talking about it, a big piece of advice, and I'm totally open to hear any challenges you have here, but what I could say from a client customer standpoint is credentials are important in a trainer.
Sure.
And knowing that your trainer has the knowledge and the ability to get you the results is important.
Yeah.
I would almost argue that you should seek out somebody who you feel like you can form a good relationship with, who has a good personality, as 0.5 of a step above the credentials and the
Sure.
ability to get you there.
Sure.
Because as we were saying earlier, you're spending a lot of time with this person, and you're going to want somebody that you can bounce the ideas off of and have the psychological benefit that can take you to the physical benefit.
Yeah. No, and I would second that for sure. The hard thing is, I still don't know how to qualify and quantify
Absolutely.
that. Like, even as a coach, there's no certification or degree or whatever that I'm like, that guy will work.
Yeah.
I know people that have the craziest credentials ever that might not be the best with what we're talking about today, but because they're really smart in one sector or something like that. So that's where it is hard. And that's where you do hope that trainer not only has the biomechanics, all the physical side of stuff,
Right.
but again, also I hope he delved into some of the psychology stuff as well too. And I hope he cares, and I hope he's willing to work with you. I hope you guys can communicate well. I also do know from a trainer perspective, when you start getting really busy, it's hard. Like, it's
Sure.
hard to have these, and we've talked because we've become friends now, so
Yep.
it's like we've done a lot more than just our sessions as well too.
Right.
So it is tricky for a trainer to get through, and I absolutely have not gotten through to all of my clients as well too.
Right.
But I'm also an asshole to myself. So if I don't, I kind of like look at myself in the mirror, like, how could I have done that better?
Right. Right.
Because I went from, years ago, I was like, well, there's just some people that just won't do it, And I still think that's true, but also I'm like, I'm going to put some responsibility on the coach too.
Yeah.
Maybe you're not the greatest communicator. Maybe
Yeah.
you need to figure out how to motivate, lead the horse to water, make the horse thirsty, whatever, a little bit better. Maybe you need to go a little bit more above and beyond. But also, again, it's hard. We have an hour or whatever,
Yeah.
So it's
Right.
it's tricky. But yeah, that drive to figure out, like, how do I really want to care about this, find the value, realize, again, this is not going to be perfectly smooth, you
Right.
know? And this is one thing, again, to kind of toot my own horn. If I do consults with people, I need them to get through their head, because managing expectations is fucking paramount. It's huge in this.
Yes.
Because if people come in thinking they're going to lose 40 pounds in a month, if you didn't talk to them about that, then they are just going to build resentment and think you're the shittiest coach, even
Right.
if they lost 28 in a month, which
Yep.
is amazing. And that's not that far-fetched. Like,
Right.
there is people that are like, wait, I thought I should lose a pound a day.
Right.
Because they saw some ad or some P90, whatever,
Well, and we could do another whole podcast on the marketing stuff. We've gone
Oh
down
my
that
God.
rabbit hole a million times. But
many times.
to your point, that is an expectation that you set with me on day one.
Yeah.
That maybe that's
Yeah.
a good segue into kind of day one. But I specifically remember you being like, "Hey, dude, this is going to be a slow burn.
Yeah.
It just is. That's
Yeah.
how this actually works. Like, I don't care about whoever you saw on the internet, touting whatever their program is. Like, if you want to do this right and you want this to stick, it's forever.
Yeah. No, you're spot on. And that's where it's funny. I was thinking about this the other day because, with my coaching, it's hard. It's like, do you do a 1 month commitment? What's your minimum or whatever?
Yeah.
I'm flexible on that, but yes, I will make sure, and I've already done this, but moving forward, I need to, like, put a year in your head minimum.
Yeah.
And even that is short, because
Yeah.
it's not a year. It's
Right.
Again, it's forever.
Yeah.
But when people come in thinking month, 2, 3, like, what? No, it doesn't. This will not end at all.
Yeah.
So I think, again, if you can totally zoom out and set those expectations of, give me a year.
Yeah.
That you're fucking 50. That's 1/5 your life, dude.
Right,
Give me
right.
this is not going to happen overnight. And that's hard again, like not to, but to circle back with marketing, it is hard. Well, that guy's guaranteed. I will just be like, then go with that. This isn't going to be a good fit. That won't be worth I don't want to say my time, but it could just be butting heads. And I don't want that. That's another important thing is find a coach that you gel well with.
Yeah.
You can't be building resentment towards each other. Then you guys need to communicate or you need to find a new coach. It needs to be a good fucking fit.
Yeah.
You need to be able to talk about hard stuff. You need to be able to chat through all these different things. Or again, I don't think it's going to work long term.
Sure.
It can maybe short term, you can do some stuff or whatever. But again, long term, I do not think it's going to work. So yeah, I do think that is probably a big one as well too, of console or whatever that initial chatting is, being able to manage expectations for people to realize that this is going to take time.
Right.
It's going to take, and still if you think it's going to probably still take double or triple the time that you think. It's not going to go fully smooth. You're going to have numerous setbacks. You're going to have setbacks with weight. You're going to have setbacks with injuries. It's going to happen.
Yep.
And that's normal.
Yep.
That's not abnormal. Fuck that coach is none of my client. No, he's lying to you. That's not how this works. And again, that's kind of going back to how the perception of what people think health, fitness, nutrition looks like, how it should feel like, I think it's just, for most people, is very, very off.
Yeah.
And that's why I even challenge. I know what to do. I just don't do. No, you don't. You don't.
Right, because if you knew, you would have success.
You would do, yes, or you knew what, or people do like, I know because when I was 18, I lost it. Okay,
right.
So maybe you knew what worked when you're 18, when you had nothing fucking going on. You have now 4 kids, you're an executive, whatever. So now you have too much on your plate. You knew what to do when your plate was empty. Cool. That's not very hard to fucking do.
Right.
You do not know what to do with your current lifestyle. That is most people. And again, I think there is so much pride and ego wrapped around why don't I just want this enough to be able to do it on my own or whatever?
Yeah.
Life is just too busy. I don't know what to tell. I talked to my mom about that the other day. She's like, I just wish I had more discipline to do this and stuff like that. And I told her, I'm like, Mom, my mom's the main caregiver for my grandma. She's got a lot going on. And I'm like, I think all your discipline and motivation is just set for that.
Yeah.
Which in my eyes, and you can argue this, but it's like, that's probably more important for her to take care of my grandma, whatever. And then I also said, the other thing too, Mom, is like, I think you need to find a better fit for you. So I think a lot of people think, again, fitness workout has to look like X. That might not gel with them. Just like I said, if to you, it has to be sports. Well, I don't really enjoy that, so I'm just not going to do it. And it's like, there's so many different fucking avenues, especially if we're just talking general health. Now, yes, if you're like, I want to be a bodybuilder, we probably got to do some resistance training. But for my mom just wants to stay healthy, it's like, fucking go take dance classes, go do some beach volleyball, go join a whatever league. All that stuff is tremendous. So I think also, again, people think, no, this needs to look like going into the gym, being boring, being on a treadmill for an hour, crying in your boot camp or your F45 or whatever class until you're sweating and dying. It does not necessarily need to look like that. And that's where, again, it's like, I don't expect you or the gen to fully know that. So that's why it is hard. I'm like, please find someone qualified, because I think they will entirely erase what you think it is, and you will be extremely pleasantly surprised at what it actually is or what it could be or whatever.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah, and I'm going to go back about 12 conversations here, and because I just want to wrap the timeline up until day one of us starting. So basically, I lost all that weight, and then there was no trying. There was no concerted effort up until you and I started working together. So
do a quick time frame. When was that year? You got down to 190 and then slow trickle, and you can add into if you want of where you were and whatever, any life stuff.
I mean, basically college. So that was like 2013, 2012, something in there. And then just, slow probably over the course of the following year and a half, basically back to my starting weight.
Okay.
So, up to like 260, somewhere in there. And then I would just kind of be in between 260 and 240, 235, depending on what season of life, but no real concerted effort to manage weight, health, anything like that in between until you and I started working together last year.
Okay. Yeah, so then we'll I guess let's go into, so that was the, I guess, zoomed out view of David has struggled with this for pretty much
Which we had
his
had
whole fucking life.
conversations about while I was cutting your hair.
Yes,
Yep.
exactly.
Yep.
So I kind of knew most of that. I had a good amount of context
Yep.
of, you know, what he was like through the years, his struggles and whatnot, his weight. So yeah, so gained back, whatever you said, 70, 80 pounds within
Yep.
a year and a half,
Yep.
2014-ish, and then floated around that. And again, that was no. Did you have? Oh, yeah, I'm gonna reel it back, lose it, and then. But it just was
Yeah, I
nothing
mean, there was definitely
consistent.
times where I'm like, dude, I do not want to wear a 3X
Okay,
shirt.
okay. So it's shit like that where you're like, this is fucking, and you
Yeah.
reel it back, but nothing to like a staggering
Exactly.
degree. You get back
Exactly.
to 2X and
Right.
Okay,
Right.
and then bounce back around. And then so he was that, and then for so I guess let's take, you know, before you, like the year before you started.
Yep.
What do you think that feeling was like? Did you, for lack of better, were you just relatively complacent? Was there any, again, take the year before we started, was there any glimpses of, I should do it later, not right now, I'm too busy? What popped in your head during that time? And then, because I want to get to the ultimate something.
Yeah.
But that year and a half, 2 years or whatever before that, would you get glimpses of that? Why were you putting it off? Did you just not care?
I think there was always something in my head that was like, man, I would just love to be jacked one day. I would just love that, but I have no idea how to get there, you know? And even as a normal person, I wouldn't know how to get there, like as a normal weight person. But now that I'm 260 pounds, I definitely don't know how to get there.
Okay.
And so I think that was a continuing theme ever since I was really, really young.
Okay. And just a hope, wish, kind of pipe dreamy-ish thing. It's in your head, but you're like, I don't really know where to start.
Yes.
Do I care all that much? It's been 30 years of this or whatever, you know?
Exactly.
Okay.
What started to happen was, throughout that year leading up, I have to be on my feet for, 40 hours a week essentially. And I'm just coming home and man, I'm just exhausted after the end of the day, and my feet hurt and my calves hurt. And it feels like I just want to go to bed, lay in bed, DoorDash food, and then get up the next morning, roll out of bed, rinse off, go to work and do it all over again. Like I have no zest for life outside of work. I'm tired all the time. I'm sore all the time. And I think that was probably part of the catalyst to that change, was like, I'm not going to be able to sustain a career that I worked my ass off to get to with my current state. Like for more than the next, 10 years. Like it's just, it wasn't going to happen. And so I think that was probably the biggest catalyst outside of kind of the rock bottom.
Okay. Yeah. And I think it's important to share any of those little voices, because for anyone out there that, again, this has been on their mind, I'm sure you have those.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's little things that kind of pop in your head that are telling you like, maybe we should, so that's where I'm like, I want you to share everything that kind of went into it over those last couple years of your life, whether it is, again, a voice in your head, whether it is my fucking feet, my knees, or everything hurts or whatever, or if it is the other side of like, yeah, I would like to see what it feels like to be kind of all that type of stuff,
Yeah, so I'd say those were probably the two biggest contributing factors.
Okay. So then, yeah, do you want to, and this is you feel free to share whatever you don't need to go in the full whatever dirty details of stuff, but if you want to share kind of the main kind of catalyst. So to get there, the last couple years or whatever, so gain back.
Yep.
There's been some voices and stuff like that he just shared in his head of like, this is probably something you should do at some point, okay?
Right.
Because at this point, what are you, maybe 28, 29 or something like that? So it's like, I'm approaching 30.
Yep.
Maybe when then, David? I'm sure you probably had some of those voices too. Like we keep, so 40 when you have kids, like when are you going to wait for?
Right.
Until you can't cut that many hairs and you physically have to make money, you know? So all those things are kind of going through your head, but it still was, I guess, not enough at that time to fully reach out. And again, I think that's important as well too, because I think people are like, they have a lot of those voices, but they're not quite there yet. And again, that's normal,
Yep.
sometimes, and again, it's different. I don't want to do this universal. You need to hit a rock bottom. Sometimes it could just be, you hit 1. All right, I hit 90. That's enough. Sometimes you hit this huge 80 thing. Just use these quantifiable terms or whatever.
Right.
So you had that, and then let's go into what fully kind of led you to reach out.
Yeah. So in I think September of last year, I ended up getting broken up with, and I think there was
a 2024.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. We got married the following year, August of 2025.
Yeah.
So that's
because
the
I think
whole
we
story.
started in November 2024.
Okay, so maybe it was October, because I remember specifically
October I think we started.
Okay,
so
because it was only a couple weeks in
Yeah.
between me reaching out and us having that
Yes.
first day. So I'm going through this breakup, and I think there just came a point where it was like, okay, I've been wanting to make this change. I'm having kind of introspective feelings of like, how can I be better overall?
Yeah.
And I'm depressed and I'm not sleeping right now. Sure. So how do I I'm already feeling the uncomfortable feelings of going through this emotionally. So let's just go for it. It's something that I know that I've wanted for a long time, and I want to tire myself out and get back to a normal pattern of life. Sure. And so I think it was just like you know what, let's add the insult to the injury. Let's just go for it. If it sucks, it already sucks. So I was just willing to be like, and then I started thinking like, okay, who do I call? And historically, I'm fortunate to have this huge network of people that I deal with. And it was like, oh, well, this is an easy call. And so it was a low barrier to entry to really be like, no, I actually don't need to go research anything. I know exactly who I'm going to call. Like, you were my first call, Yeah. And so that's basically where it stemmed from.
Yeah. And what I wanted to do, have these kind of pauses of just the relatable things, because I think people hone in so specific. Oh, I didn't go through. It's like it doesn't that you don't need to focus on the specifics all that much or whatever.
Right.
The point is, yes, something happened in your life that made you kind of internalize, look at yourself a little bit more, and being like, I need to start making this positive change. Now, I don't know, again, if you don't have a moment like that, because there will be people. I don't have, I don't know how to fully get there. That's another one where it's like, if I can bottle that up and you're able to look at everything honestly in your life and being like, holy fuck, I need to fix this.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly how to get there. And I don't know if you can voodoo yourself too. I don't really know.
Right.
They even say that with rehab or whatever addiction is like, you need to hit rock bottom. There needs to be this moment of like, but I need to fix this.
Yeah.
Either because I'm gonna fucking die, or I'm gonna die alone, or I'm gonna whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is a tricky one. I guess if I had to be an a-hole to anyone out there, if it's been years, decades since working out, if your steps are averaging it's you, and it's now.
Yeah.
It's
and
like,
I'll second that.
let's do something about it. And again, because it's just I'm gonna talk shit. I swear it's out of love, because I do think, again, it will just add so much quality to your life. Again, I'm very, very biased, and I love these conversations as well too, because some of these perspectives I've never really had.
Sure.
And I try to also be honest and transparent with that as well. I didn't really have these big weight struggles and stuff like that for myself, and I've had some of these, at least in fitness and health habits, for so long. I'm like, I don't even know how I began getting those and stuff like that. So again, this is why I think it's so important we're doing this, and we're doing this now, because it's still fresh.
Yeah.
Like it's only been now 13 months or 14 months or whatever from when we first started. But yeah, so I do think if there is a moment, if that voice is getting louder, take it seriously.
Yeah. Because I think if you are someone, and I can only speak for myself, but I do think if you're someone that has those voices, the minute that a shoe drops in your life, that is going to be a part of it.
Yeah.
And so I think one of my biggest regrets is not mitigating some of those things sooner that I already knew about, because then when the shoe does fall, it really hurts.
Yeah.
Because you're like, dude, I know exactly like what my suffering comes from, why it's happening, and I chose not to do anything about it, and now it sucks 10 times worse because I'm dealing with mom's cancer or dad dies or whatever that may be, you know. So that's one of my biggest, I think, things that if I could give to people and bottle up would be just take care of it. It's because you're gonna suffer either way. You're either gonna suffer with being a fat, sore jerk that doesn't want to do anything, or you're gonna suffer in the gym for 4 hours a week. It's one or the other.
No, and I think that's incredibly important and powerful. And maybe that is for all 4 people listening or whatever, maybe one of them, that will be the words of just, if I have a regret, it's that I didn't fucking do this sooner. You know?
Yep.
And you still did this soon. Like compared to, I have some people, they're 70. And it's hard. And I never want to be it's too late, but I'm like, motherfucker. Why didn't you start this 40 years ago, man? And that's something powerful. I've seen this with my own eyes. I see what it looks like when you don't take care of yourself through your 20s, 30s, 40s. It's not fucking pretty.
Yep.
So if this is on your head, like, again, that if you could have started yesterday, but the next best time is right now, you know, like just try right now if you can. You don't necessarily need to have this huge moment, but it will happen. Like life will either force you to kind of look at it again, or you can try to keep sweeping it under the rug or something. But I guess, use that and talk to other people too, because I think the sentiment will be very similar. I wish I would have just done this a little bit sooner. Because life also, like you said, it just gets trickier. It gets harder. More things get put on your plate. If you waited, like honestly, and we can't crystal ball this, but there is a good chance if you would have waited another 5, 6, 7, it probably would have never happened. Like if you would introduce all this other, I don't know if it would have ever happened, honestly, just because you have so many other things that would probably take priority, you know? So yes, if you can fucking start right now.
Absolutely.
And then with the network and being that's another thing. Again, I wish we had better recommendations for that. Like that's a tricky one, you know, of again, if you know of anyone, reach out. I guarantee through your network, like anyone out there of friends and family members, I would have to imagine someone knows something, hopefully. And then hopefully, again, it's a good match. Because again, that from the coaching perspective, I do put a lot of weight on the coach, which for any viewer, that might not be super helpful because now they're worried about like, fuck, Chase says I need to do this right. I need to make sure. That's also going to take some trial and error.
I think if I would have reached out to you and we were like, hey, like this ultimately isn't a good fit. And I was like, but dude, I need somebody. I'm sure you would have been like, I'll help you find somebody.
100%, you know. For me, yes. Everyone else, I don't know. You know, a lot of people, I don't want to give up money in a potential client, blah, 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 blah. But you hope that, whoever you talk to, if they're not the best fit, they'll be able to lead you and refer you out or something like that. And I hope that they take this seriously. Ideally, again, if you can find a career trainer, I think that will be better. But either way, man, it's like, I don't want to be this gatekeeper of health and fitness. Like, you can have a trainer that just got certified last weekend. That changes your life, you know? So in either way, you're going to learn some great stuff. You're going to start building that initial inertia and momentum towards something. And then a big part, again, is just the expectations as well of just, it won't go fully smooth. Just don't give up. Like there's going to be some hard stuff. You're going to fuck up. You're going to gain weight. You're going to binge. You're going to miss a week or two. You're going to have a hard time getting back on track after the New Year's or after vacation. That's going to happen 1000%. Everyone goes through it. If they say otherwise, they're a fucking liar. It's not like that. So just don't get discouraged, or get you can emotions happen. That's fine. But then also be able to somewhat talk yourself off the ledge. Again, I think if we're working with a good coach, that can help too, you know, and that's another thing that's like, whatever's going through, like, let's fucking chat about it, dude, because it's all normal. Fuck, dude, I am hating the gym, let's chat about it, you know?
Well, and I think one of the most helpful things, and by the way, we should get to the day one. Thanks for an hour in, but 7 hours long. But I think one of the helpful things in our relationship is like, dude, you share your struggles with me too. You know, and you're like, yeah, dude, we got 7 pounds of Popeyes last night, and I did not want to go to the gym today. And I'm like, No, I appreciate that because it makes it feel like you have the same struggles that I do. You're not some Greek god that's up here and you're like, dude, I only eat chicken. Go fuck yourself. You know, like
No, and I think that's important too, you know,
Yeah.
and that's where, yeah, for me, I do want to share all the different struggles I've had with all this stuff, make people realize I am human and I'm not this fitness robot or whatever. I love eating. Fucking last night, dude, Liz and I, we went to, so Friday nights is when we're trying to do like, oh, let's try to meal prep Monday through Thursday. Friday night, to make it a little bit cheaper, we go to the grocery store and it's just random appetizers bullshit, bro. You know.
Yeah.
So last night it was fucking mini corn dogs, loaded potato skins, a frozen pizza, and French fries. You know, and I love that shit so much, and I would not take it away. You know, so that's why I do like that I'm in this position, and I'm glad, even though I'd probably be a bit leaner if all I ate. I'm like, I don't want that. I still am very much the guy that, what is it? Do you eat to live or live to eat or whatever? You know, it's like I live to eat. I very much fucking enjoy that. And I want that part of my life. And I'm just trying to find balance. And I think that's what everyone should strive for, you know? And I think you can accomplish that. But again, circle back. We need to see what the expectations are. If it's, I want to be 2% body fat, but I want to be able to enjoy beers. No, like, sorry, like that expectation is just wrong. Like that's probably not going to happen, but we can probably enjoy beers on the weekend and we can probably get a couple of those abs showing and blah, 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 you know? So I think it's important to be honest and for me to share and be relatable and to be human and all those things as well too. So people don't feel like they're alone in this. And it's crazy to me because I'm like, and this is where I've been in it for too long, that people don't realize that and feel they're alone. Because I'm like, dude, your struggles are not fucking unique at all. Like, they're not unique at all, dude. I get it. Vacations are hard. Figuring out pizza weekends with your family are hard. Like, I totally get that as well. I enjoy this stuff. I don't know if I want to live a life where it's just like no beer ever again. Even if I'll live a little bit, like, I don't know, man. I enjoy that time with friends and stuff like that as well, too. So anyway, again, that's also why I got all these overriding principles. Let's figure out a system that works well for each individual client's life so they don't feel like they're struggling through it. And then also being honest about if they have goals where they need to push a little bit more of what that's going to look like, potentially feel like, etc. So like when we're getting close to your wedding and stuff like that of like, okay, dude, we can hit these numbers, but the sacrifice is going to go up. So here's all the different things to watch for. That's a little hint in what we'll chat about in a little while. I think that's another huge important thing of just going down this journey. But we'll kind of leave it at that one, and then we'll start going, we'll kind of rewind back to kind of the day one, you know? So we went over, you went through a breakup, you had all these different things kind of like, let's start working on this, you know? Reached out to me, and I don't know what the exact text was, but you kind of just, you know, quickly said, hey, I'm going through this, and I'd love to be able to chat. This has been something on my mind, and for me, first, I think I thanked you because I'm like, it means a lot for him to reach out to me. So that's one thing. And again, being relatable and also being like, dude, give yourself a pat on the fucking back. That's not easy to do, especially during a low time like that. Most people are going to self-sabotage and then pity this, pity that, you know. And again, that's normal. I go through those same things. I'm not bashing that. But I think it's awesome that you tried to do something positive in a very fucking low part of your life as well too. That's not something that's easy to do. So I essentially said, yeah, man, let's chat about it. So I don't know if we did from there. It was just, let's get in the gym. We'll do a mini session and talk, something like that. Or maybe we chatted a little bit more. And again, I'm seeing David every 2 to 4 or 5 weeks for my haircut as well too. So we're chatting along that.
No, I think it was just let's meet up at the gym and we'll go from there.
Yeah, I think so. And that's, again, everyone is a little bit different on that one. Because I've known David, I didn't feel like we needed to do this long consult call or whatever. With clients I don't know, generally it is this intake. Let's chat on the phone because I want to see them. I want to see how they explain their goals and their expectations. I want to see and feel emotions behind all this different stuff. And then also I want to be able to chat and talk about what separates me and kind of my system and blah, 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 blah. So since I didn't fully need to do that with David, we kind of was like, let's get into the gym.
And I think my mindset and my text or what I tried to convey to you was like, I want you to have the reins on this.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
I was
that's
like,
good.
I will pay your rate. I will whatever we need to do.
Yeah.
Like I want to feel what your system is, what your perspective is on coaching. I believed, and I still do believe, that you're the expert, and so I want you to drive the bus, and I want to just go by what you say, what you do. And I think that is an important piece, is just being open to letting somebody drive the bus. And like, I don't want to give you the interjections of this or that. Like, of course there are going to be struggles,
Sure,
but I was just like, I want to do this your way, you know?
Yeah, no, and that's a good point too. So yes, because of David and I's relationship, we already had some rapport and trust built in. So that's another thing where I need to kind of pause on that, because again, if it is just a normal client, you might not have that same thing. I get it.
Right.
People are going to come in, they're going to be kind of hesitant, they're going to be kind of skeptical and stuff like that. And I'm sure there's still stuff going through your brain with that.
Sure.
But probably much less than someone that just found me on Google or some shit like that as well. Because with those particular clients, it is a little bit harder, because again, they're going to have walls, they're going to have influence and things like that. And I think it is important to be able to chat through those and not just try to steamroll through them. Because you can lose trust and credibility as well. Even if what they're saying is complete bullshit, you need to hear them out. You need to have them feel heard and understood and all these different things. And sometimes even it's like, no, I want to tone, and I know that's bullshit. I'm not going to say that's bullshit on day one. You know, it's like, I need to build a little bit of trust and rapport, and then maybe down the line we'll slowly kind of debunk some of these myths and stuff like that. But I don't think, again, just trying to be some fucking know-it-all trainer on day one is going to do anything good for your relationship. So yeah, so then day one, we kind of got him in the gym. And for me on that perspective, it's just like, I know a lot of these individuals have some pretty, like a pretty negative relationship with fitness. So I want to do something that's somewhat enjoyable, you know, and I say somewhat because it's hard. Most people, I mean, I don't know when the last time you worked out. So even a simple workout, I mean, and I have videos, we might have to put them of like you doing reverse lunge and other stuff. You're like, fuck, this fucking sucks. But still try to make it as enjoyable as I can. And that could be where the chatting, having fun, that type of stuff, especially on day one. I am very, very against the person where it's like, I'm going to kill you and make you feel like a fat pile of fucking shit on day one for your head to be like, man, why not? That might work for someone. Again, I don't like these universal blanket, because there probably is individuals that spoke to them and that said, holy shit, I'm in such bad shape, I need to get it together. I want a little bit of that, but I don't want to entirely punish you and pummel you to where you feel discouraged, because it's very important for individuals to feel relatively excited walking in and encouraged and successful leaving. Okay. So that is probably doing a little bit fucking less. We're just touching on stuff. And I'm also using that to kind of assess and whatever as well too. More of these kind of strength orthopedic stuff. Let's see what we're working with. Let's see what David likes, does not like. That's another thing I communicate through. If there's any no-goes for whatever reason, I don't want to squat, I don't want to lunge, I don't want to battle rope, I wouldn't do that day one. I just listen to the client, make sure that they have an enjoyable, as much as possible, time for that first, and then you kind of roll with it, you know? So I think after that one, it was kind of like, let's just start with this. If you want to add on anything else, food-wise, whatever you can. But right now, I think it's very important not to overwhelm the system with, all right, you're going to track macros, you're going to get 8,000 steps, we're going to get workouts, you're going to do this, you're going to do that. That's a lot, you know? So if you're like, dude, I need to fucking get ready for a vacation in 3 months, then maybe I'd start with that. And again, this is why we chat through goals and whatnot. I knew David was more of a long-term thing. So I do think, again, if we're talking about long-term, sustainable, building right habits that will last forever, let's start kind of slow, you know? But again, that's why we communicate, because if your expectation, I need to lose 15 this first month, maybe we'd crank it up. But if I had my way, it's, let's just do the exercise. You haven't exercised for a decade. Why are we doing a million different things at once? Let's just start with 2. I think we did 3 days. We started with 3 days a week. And it's like, let's just do that for a fucking month. Let's communicate through it. I'm going to make sure while we're doing it. So every fucking says like, how'd that feel? Is that okay?
Yep.
Because I want to know what's going on in the body. I can see, I can't feel.
Yep.
And I want to make sure that I'm also paying attention to other cues and stuff like that. There's different verbal and eye cues of if they're losing interest, if they hate this exercise, things like that too. So I want you to feel engaged. I want you to connect with the exercises. I want you to feel successful after every single session, and successful after each week, and after each 2 weeks, and after each 3 weeks, and stuff like that. And then it's just kind of a, one step at a time. So I'll pause there and kind of let you go through that first week or month and add in anything else you want to there.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it was essentially what I expected, which I guess means that you did a good job of setting the expectations,
Yeah.
But I just remember being like, oh, wow, like this doesn't have to suck. And I have somebody that like cares about how I feel about it and cares about the results. And I felt like we were always hitting this good stride. And I guess it just sounds like I'm giving you all the accolades now, but it's okay.
I'll take it.
Because I am.
I'll take it.
I felt like we were hitting this good stride of like 60%, 70% of my exertion level to where it was like I really wasn't waking up the next day broken and dead and sore and not wanting to go to work and get out of bed. Like I felt challenged, but I felt like, okay, I can keep this up long term.
Yeah.
And so I think it was like, okay, I want to continue this. And I knew that like eventually it was going to get harder, but for right now we were at like this, let's figure out where I'm at and let's kind of build on something that isn't quite as like balls to the wall immediately.
Sure.
And so, I enjoyed it from that aspect. And then it was just kind of like, okay, I think in that first month, I just kind of put it in my head, like, no, I'm going to commit to this.
Yeah.
This feels good. And yeah, let's go, let's do it. And so I think at some point within that first month, by committing to it, I was kind of able to put the blinders on of just like, let's create the habit, let's build it. I'm going to get there in the morning and then I'll let you take the reins from there.
Yeah. No, and I'm glad you touched on that too, because I think that's another thing, because I had context of your work and what you do and stuff like that too, is I want to make sure that we are, driving the proper stimulus that we need. Because this is how I kind of explain sessions or whatever. It's like, yes, we need to drive some sort of stimulus to get the adaptations that we're wanting, all right? So let's make sure this thing, and this could just be like, all right, we need a lower body pushing exercise, quad dominant exercise or whatever. Then from there, it's like, let's match what gels the best with him, you know? I'm not married to any fucking exercise. I'm married to the exercise that you like the best, you know? So if it's a hip hinge, we're trying an RDL, we're trying a hex bar, we're trying a glute bridge, we're trying to whatever. Let's figure out the one that he enjoys the most and that we can progress with efficiently, and then we'll make that fit. So again, I think people, I hate squatting, I have to squat. Well, not necessarily. We can leg press and whatever, because again, I'm not married to the exercise, I'm married to the stimulus. So I think that's another thing I try to share to people. One, because me saying stimulus and adaptation makes me sound smart or whatever, but also so they know that we can drag and drop whatever the fuck we want, dude. If you love this machine, then let's do it. If you hate incline curls, we probably don't really need to do an incline fucking curl. We can do a this curl, we can do a preacher, we can do a whatever. So I think that also makes people feel, oh, cool, we can customize this to me and my liking. As we should, you know? So again, if you don't like lateral lunges, we probably will never do a lateral lunge. Or maybe we'll try again in 6 months. If you still fucking hate them, I don't really care. I don't think there's many like, you need to do it. Like, yes, again, we need to drive some sort of stimulus, but I don't think there's a specific exercise you absolutely need to do. So I do try to share that. So again, people feel comfortable. I can tailor this for them. So we can choose stuff that you enjoy. And then also understanding the kind of constraints and limitations of, how sore do I want this person to be? What is the threshold? Because this is another thing, and this kind of bugs me. I want to be so fucking. No, you don't. No, you don't. I get it. There's a part of your brain that does it, but then next day when you're 4 haircuts in, you're like, fuck, I can barely fucking stand.
Yeah.
What are you going to start getting annoyed at? The workout, me, whatever.
Right.
And then again, that goes back to not having a healthy relationship with this. So this needs to gel well with your life.
Right.
And then I'm going to get a little technical here too, but let's say like he was saying, maybe I'm a 5 out of 10 sore, 6 out of 10 or something like that. Like the difference between that and a 9 out of 10 is you are way more sore. You didn't drive that much more stimulus, especially in the beginning, dude, where like, all your receptors are so incredibly sensitive. You do not need to fucking punish the shit out of them, okay?
Right.
You're just going to dig yourself into a hole and be way more sore, but really not drive all that much more stimulus to whatever the muscle. So that's where I'm trying to figure out where those diminishing returns are. And it's not very much in the beginning, okay?
Sure.
Because you are so incredibly fresh. So again, it's like going back to psychology. Let's get it enough to where the next day they feel like I did something. Because I understand connecting that to success, connecting that to I'm proud of myself, but we can't fall off the edge of like you are so incredibly sore that it's fucking with your life, and now it's more negative thoughts, okay? And it can go there very, very quickly, and it's very easy to cross that threshold with new clients because again, it's just they are so detrained that even probably walking uphill for 10 minutes would leave them sore, you know? So again, sorry, but if your trainer pulverizes you to oblivion and you need a wheelchair, especially, I'm not a huge fan of that, but whatever, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that's, again, another important distinction of I knew where at least I thought and perceived David kind of wanted to be on that of like soreness, what I need to do in life and all these other things. So I wanted to make sure we were there. So that first week felt good. That second week felt good. Third week felt good. Fourth week felt good. And it didn't cause a lot of friction. That's what I'm trying to avoid. Like as much as humanly possible is friction with all of this shit. Friction with exercise. So that's everything from what time we're working out, how frequent we're working out, when we're working out, what kind of split we're doing, okay? Are we gonna hammer legs before you have the busiest day? You know, all those different things. And that's me kind of nerding out and figuring out my programming. And that's what I mean, the psychology of it. It's more important of me being, holy shit, Wednesdays is his busiest days. We can't do lower body than me programming, the best blah, 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 length and partials and stuff like that. I think that's more important, again, than having the best exercise selection, me just knowing, let's not do lower body on Tuesday, whatever, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And if you do that correctly enough, you're just avoiding friction, which gives you a higher probability of this sticking more long term. Because again, all those friction points are going to feel like you're stepping on a rake and it's hitting you in the fucking face, you know? So that's kind of behind the scenes of the stuff I am trying to orchestrate that might not really appear, like it might just appear organic, but it's like not entirely. Like this is also thought out. Like this is a plan too. To again, I know I've said friction for the 9,000th time, but I think it just works so well of just like that is what we're trying to avoid, especially in the beginning when everything is like you're a deer in headlights to everything, dude, because everything is so new, man. Like your homeostasis is just getting fucking raw. So that's where it's like, one thing at a time, don't fucking overdo it. Less is more with that. Chatting through, that is so important that first month of, please tell me, I hate this. I'm losing motivation. It's harder for me to wake up in the morning to do this. I'm getting bored. Whatever. I don't give a shit what it is. I need to know so that I can help pivot and combat those things or whatever. Because it's normal. It is normal. It's not abnormal to be like, I don't want whatever, you know? So again, I can't stress that more. And that's why I'm probably reiterating a lot of these things. That first week, 2 weeks, month, I think is very, very crucial for long-term success. And I do think many people do it just incorrectly for whatever reason and whatnot. So, I just think it's super important.
Yeah, and I think that it's one of those things. I have a very technical brain. And so I knew that basically there's two things going on at the same time. There is what you are presenting as we're talking and hanging out in the gym and all these things, and then an incredibly technical back end to all of this stuff. And I think that that's one of the things that I really appreciated, because that's kind of what I do in my job all day long too, you know? And I've put a lot of thought into, and this is just a kind of a side tangent, but I think somebody who's a true professional at their job kind of has both of those things where it's like, the consumer doesn't need to know what all of this
Yeah.
technical stuff is kind of behind the curtain, but it is happening,
Yeah.
you know? And so there's almost two things going on at once. There's the presentation of Chase in the gym right now and the conversation we're having, but then there's you thinking about, okay, what exercise are we going to next? Why are we pairing these exercises?
Yeah.
The rest times, all of these things. And I've obviously been able to see that because we've had so many sessions together now that
Sure.
that's true. But yeah, I think the client shouldn't have to understand those things and feel those things. And so from my perspective, that was like a lot of the success in the beginning was knowing that you were driving that train behind the scenes, but me not having to think about it because I didn't have the mental bandwidth for that at the
Yeah.
time. Like I think for the first 3 months, I didn't even know what amount of weights we were lifting
Yeah,
on like
yeah.
anything,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And that's what I wanted, you know?
Yeah.
That's why I wasn't asking those questions because I'm like, dude, just make it the right amount of challenging for me.
Yeah.
And then eventually we can start to pile on some of this other information.
Totally. Yeah, no, another great point. Yeah, and it's funny, like you're saying, like I think, you know, professionals in any field, and it's a hard balance. That's what I was kind of laughing of having of like, because when I try to explain, like I try to simplify things. I try to do the chat GPT, you know, explain this like I'm a golden retriever or whatever,
Right,
you
right.
know. But then also I'm like, wait, there's a lot of thought too. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So
yeah.
so I don't want, and you probably do the same thing with haircuts of like, oh no, it's this and that. But it's not, oh, it's easy. I can just cut my own hair. It's like, well,
Right.
no, okay,
Yeah,
no,
yeah,
no.
yeah.
It's really thought out, but I'm also going to simplify this for you because
Right.
I'm like, I can give you an hour presentation on the nuance or whatever, but you're probably going to get a little lost or
Yeah,
whatnot. So,
right.
but yes, and I think also just knowing, again, just time and place of the capacity you have for that
Right.
at these different stages. And everyone is different. And I probably don't always do the best with this just because sometimes I get passionate with sharing, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm like, I
Yeah.
want to share and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And I'm sure there's someone like, I don't fucking give a shit, you know? And it's hard because we're passionate. I'm sure you've done that with clients
Oh,
too. Where
yeah.
you're like,
Oh, yeah.
dude, I don't give a fuck. Just cut my hair. I
Yes.
don't need to
Yes.
fucking know. And I think our personalities, we kind of do care. Like
Yeah.
I like knowing shit.
Yeah.
Like it's fascinating to
Yep.
me. You know what I'm saying? So it is hard, but yes, in the beginning and just being aware of the capacity that your client has, because yes, in the beginning, I think it's very little.
Yeah.
You're already shaking the boat in the system so much that we're chatting, having a good time on rest, and then we're doing exercises. I'm probably not explaining all that much more beyond that,
Yep.
unless you ask. You know,
Right.
again, I'm not avoiding it or anything
Right,
like that.
right.
I just don't want to do anything, again, friction that adds any type of friction, any type of overthinking, any of that stuff as possible. I want it fucking smooth sailing.
Yep.
The goal is to get our 3 sessions in per week, get those 12 in for the month. That's it. That is the goal for this month.
Right.
Let me do everything else, okay? So we will start focusing on strength. And I'll show you at the end of the month to make sure, or the end of the week or whatever, so I can show you so you can kind of connect and have these different metrics of check out what we already accomplished, okay?
Yeah.
We've already, resiliency, strength, work capacity, all these things have improved by 37% this past month. Awesome. And then you kind of do these check-ins too. I think that was another huge, just check, how you feeling with this stuff?
Right.
You want to add a little bit more? What do you want to do?
Yeah.
You know, so next step, you want to see how steps go? What are you at right
Right.
now? For that, let's try to hit 5,000 or something like that.
Yep.
Or maybe it's the food. Maybe that's the next thing. Maybe we'll just focus on protein a little bit more.
Yep.
You know, something along those lines. But this is where it's hard because, again, building the right habits, making this sustainable, it takes fucking time, and people want results yesterday.
Yeah.
So that's another thing where, again, I'm happy that you had the trust of like, no, this will work out, but it's going to take time. And that, again, goes back to me managing expectations and telling you that and stuff like that, because I'm like, dude, if you want to do this right, one thing at a time. First month, let's just hit the exercise. Second month, let's either throw in just a slight nutrition change or steps.
Yep.
Third month, we'll add in whatever we didn't. But I think it's important to kind of take it slow, because if you throw in 9 habits you're trying to build at once, I just don't find it realistic that
Yeah.
any of them are going to stick. You're going to do this. You're going to hold on until and then they're all going to fucking explode. And you're going to say, fuck this. I'm going to binge. I quit. I don't want to do this anymore or whatever.
Yep.
So again, no friction. Don't try to rock the boats. Try to give homeostate time, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So it's like you're adding in this much, so it's not like, you know,
Right.
it's like it's not gonna stick. It's just this slow gradual of just increasing and adding things in over time, you
Right.
know?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think I'm trying to think of anything else for that kind of first month, but I think that was kind of the main focus there of just
I think so.
let's start building momentum into the gym. Obviously in there we're working on a mixture of stuff, mainly strength, adding on muscle, and then we're doing some sort of cardio stuff.
Right.
Obviously we're burning calories just through exercise, but I probably did add in one of the days where we're doing a little bit more like cyclical cardio,
Yeah.
just to burn a little bit more calories. And because I think that cardiovascular, cardiorespiratory stuff should be part of your goal because
Yep.
it's just great for fucking health,
Yep.
you know? But I think that was kind of the main goal for that first month. Was
Yeah.
there anything else that
No,
that
I
I'm
think
missing
that, I think that is I think that's accurate, and that's probably a good representation of it because it is relatively simple for
Yeah.
that first month.
Yeah,
You know, you're
yeah.
not trying to add in too much there.
But that's another thing too, where I think it is on the client, and obviously you share of like having that trust in not being like, I need to do it all, because like I get it psychologically. Something happened, you're ready, let's go.
Yeah.
Throw
Right.
all of it.
Right.
And like we need to slow
Yeah.
down, dude, because again, this is not a marathon. It's an ultra marathon.
Right.
We're sprinting.
Yeah.
We're fucking sprinting out of the gate. You got all your gels and your carbon
Right.
shoes or whatever.
Right.
Like, what the flying fuck,
Yeah.
dude? Let's try to walk a little bit before this. So that's the hard thing of like, I get it. The intensity of that motivation, especially when you're like, I reached out, I did it, or whatever, could be very high.
Yeah.
And it's like, the fear is it spikes fast and goes down
Right,
fast. And I'm
right.
like, we need to stretch this motherfucker out.
Yeah.
So pace this shit. Again, I love the motivation. I love that you want to do everything. It's probably just a bit too much.
Yeah,
And
I
it is
think-
this. You need trust. Though.
Right. I think for me, it was the motivation is high. It was holding two thoughts at the same time.
Okay.
I wanted to decrease the amount of time from me talking to you to us getting in the gym. Like I
important.
wanted that to be tomorrow.
Yeah.
But I was also holding in my idea that like in my head that it needs to go forever.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
needs to be
yeah.
a long-term change, and I'm ready to make that long-term change, but I want to make it now, because if I don't make it now,
Yeah.
it's going to be gone.
Yeah.
I knew that once that spark was gone, it's done. We're not making that change.
Yeah.
So I think it was just having that balance in my head of like, it has to be both,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah,
And so, yes, I do want to, walk coming out of the gate, but also I want to start,
Yeah, yeah.
So I think that was maybe a little bit more of a helpful mindset than just the immediate spike up and immediate crash down.
No, and I think that's important. I do think, and it's funny because I get it from the coaching side of the strike while the iron's hot. From the coaching and sales side, you
Yeah,
get that of like
right.
get them in that day as soon as possible, because as soon as that motivation starts to dwindle, it dwindles quickly.
Yep.
And they might not get that again for 6 months, a year, 2 year, never. You're like that
Right.
is realistic,
Right.
So I think from both the coaching sales side and the client side of, if you get a hit away, do something with it. Do
Yeah.
something. Start building. Start pushing that fucking boulder
Yep.
immediately.
Yep.
But again, circling back, yeah, if you feel lost and whatever, that's where it does get hard, know. And at some point, I would love to. I need to figure out a good system of, if you are on your own, like that would be kind of a passion project, or maybe we'll do a podcast or whatever of just like, this is what you can do if you can't afford to, or whatever, for whatever reason,
Yep.
you don't have someone. This is what we can do. Just start building some positive momentum and do all these kind of principles, but kind of on your own,
Yep.
But anyway, so yes, I think that was big. And yeah, the stretching out. And I don't know if that was my guess would be a combination of just us kind of chatting over the years, you probably doing some of your own research too. I keep wanting to say not being stupid, of just be not stupid's not the right word. None of these are the right word, but just naive too.
Yeah.
Of like, I think you kind of knew. It took me a while to get here. It's probably not going to be overnight
Right.
either,
Right.
And I think it was good that you didn't have this. All right, it's October. By the end of the year, I need to get to what.
Right.
There was. I don't really know. Even the first I think you had some big picture goals, because I guess we
Yep.
didn't really go over like what you said your goals
Right,
were,
right.
and that's another thing too. Of I go so back and forth with goals, and we've talked about this a lot. You know, you need SMART goals, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, timely, whatever. There's no wrong and right way of doing goals.
Right.
I can list out positives and negatives of any which way. Putting everything on paper, having so much urgency could be great, could burn yourself out. Just getting started could be a great goal. Maybe that's not serious for enough people. It is very, very tricky, you know? So sometimes there is people that I'm just like, let's just start. Let's just start. Goals will come to us. Right now, what's important is getting in the gym, because goals, it's all a means to an end, right?
Right.
It's like, it's to build these like you put the goal there to build the habits to whatever, but it's all the habits and the doing of the stuff that's important, not necessarily the fucking goal, you know? And I do get a little worried of goals because people are like, I want to lose 30 pounds. Oh, I only lost 28 and a half. I fucking, you know, it's like, and that sounds dumb, but like there is people like that, you know? So it's like, I don't want that ever to happen either. So it's like, this kind of rigid but flexible kind of goals of in the beginning, maybe the goal is just getting in the gym, showing up those 3 times in a week. Once you kind of build that habit and inertia, let's layer it on. But yeah, I do get a little bit of hesitation when it's like very serious. All right, by October 2nd, 38.2 pounds or whatever, you know? So
yeah, I think for me, it was like the goal was to take my health seriously. Like every man that I've ever looked up to in my life takes his health seriously. So I knew there was something to that. But I don't think a short-term goal came until almost like a year later, you know? So. I mean, like in a vain sense, like I've always wanted to look great at the pool, but that was not the goal, you know? And I think that was purposeful. Like I wasn't like, Chase, I need to lose 30 pounds this week. Because I want to get to the end goal, but there's no timeline. Because if this is forever, it's gonna come.
I know.
The end goal will come. Like it just will. And so you like, it sounds dumb because everybody says it, but you have to trust the process. And it's yes, there are reasons to quantify a goal and good reasons too. But even the goals that we've set for short term, I'm still not to where I ultimately want to be. And that's okay. Like I'm good with that.
No, and that's right. I do think, and again, there's no universal right or wrong with the goal stuff, but if the goals can be like ultimately the habit, but the pieces that build up to the habit, I think that's probably going to be the best. Cause you nailed it of like, if these habits, it's only a matter of time. It will get there, you know? So that's where it's like, I would want people to have that so strong in their head of just focusing on that habit, just focus on the showing up, just focus on the whatever, because then whatever the goal, like it will absolutely come, you know? And the closer we can stick with the adherence to these habits and things like that, like the faster the goal will come, you know? But I think there's so many people now, it's like, trying to hack their way to the goal or whatever they can do. I want to lose 30 pounds. Well, if I chop my leg off, I lost it. You know, it's like, yeah, you can do that, but that's probably not the fucking goal either, you know? So, but yeah, it is tricky. And this is also, you know, we've talked about this. This is what makes this fascinating. This is why we kind of wanted to share. I think this is the truth of a lot of it. I think it's very easy, and I see this in my world, if I got the magic thing, the magic system behind the paywall, it's right here. You see us talking candidly. This is why it's tricky. And there is no, again, just universal system that's going to work for everyone. You know, some people, they need very specific goals. Other people, yours were pretty non-specific. And that worked out tremendously for you. And we did graduate to a bit more specific for sure, you know. But I do think like for a majority of people, probably more of the non-specific in the beginning, probably that first 3 months. It's just like, just get your ass in the fucking gym. And then maybe you have a specific of like, here's a kind of step goal I want to hit and a protein goal or something like that. I'd probably graduate to that. And then from there, it can start getting a little bit more specific or not. I have people that will forever be their goal of, I just want to strength train twice a week. I don't give a shit other than that. I have current clients like that have been with me for years. They don't have, I want to hit X amount of bench press. I want to hit X amount of weight or whatever. It's just like, I know this is something I should be doing. I feel better when I do it. I won't do it on my own. So I'm just going to do this. And as long as I am hitting 2 days in the week at the gym or whatever, I'm pretty happy with that, you know? So again, it's just there's no specific goal that you need to do or don't need to do. So much of this is trial and error. And
Well,
that's like,
I think that's why we wanted to do this, right?
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
because we hope that all of this stuff that we've touched on today and in future shows or whatever, maybe somebody will latch onto one
Yeah.
of those things or 5 of those things or however many, but hopefully at least one, and be like, oh, that resonates with me. I can make this work.
Yeah.
And it truly is about coming up with a system that works for you, and using your creativity, your feedback, realizing that your emotions and motivations on it are all valid.
Sure,
And can fit into this picture of fitness and health.
100%.
And do.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And I think also this was what I was thinking about too, because I don't think this is uncommon for people to progress towards something and find, again, good traction towards their goal, but they didn't do it the way that guru said they should do it. So then they almost like self-sabotage, big. Well, yeah, I hit my goal, but I did it with intermittent fasting, and that guy said that's unhealthy, so therefore I did it wrong. So
Interesting.
I think that probably does happen more than we think.
Okay.
You know, so that's another thing too of like, and that's what it's like, let's tailor it to what makes the most sense for you, and what's the, again, most frictionless, easiest process. Is it fasting? Is it carbs? Whatever. Like if that worked well for you, then kind of tell that dude to shut the fuck up,
Right.
you know? Unless it is like super unhealthy, and all these things are kind of left for perception too,
Right,
you know, which
right.
makes it tricky. But if you're able to lose a bunch of weight, your blood markers improved, but you still ate M&Ms on a nightly basis, like I'm like, it's working kind of well
Yeah,
for you,
yeah.
you know? So let's kind of go for it. But again, that's where it makes it really tricky of trying to have this, again, I know I keep saying this universal system, because it can help, and I think you'll find nuggets of stuff that worked well for you, but you have to go back to like, all right, what's the big, overwhelming, overshadowing, whatever principles, and then figure out the system that works well for your life. And that's where, again, it's like going back to a good trainer, coach, whatever, nutritionist that knows these principles, can share them, and then you're able to kind of chisel away and figure out what works well for your life, you
Right.
know? Because me saying, oh, get all your steps in the morning, that might work great for you. It might work terrible for another client,
Yeah.
you know? So you just need to be careful with those, again, blanket recommendations, because they might not necessarily work super duper well. And then for everyone out there, again, don't get discouraged if even like what David did might not necessarily work for you
Right.
at fucking all.
Right.
That's normal, dude. Take the stuff that worked well, you know, that worked well for him, that works well for you, cool. And other stuff, like throw it away and
Yeah,
try someone
totally.
else's thing, you
Totally.
know? And I think that is normal. What helped, I think, us is I can help kind of expedite some of that stuff. Because you can say, this didn't work for me. I say, oh, cool. We got A, B, C, D, E.
Yeah.
Let's try A.
Right.
That didn't work. Okay, let's try D, you know?
Yep.
Just because I've been doing this for so long or whatever, and I always have the Rolodex of different ways to combat issues, you
Right.
know, and that's another big thing that we'll talk about is just learning how to kind of pivot and combat, again, just life hurdles, because there's going to be a billion.
Yep.
And I think a lot of people are like, oh, there'll be no, if I have the perfect, no, there'll always be. And we need to learn, again, how to, you know, pivot or whatever to get through these different life hurdles, because it's going to continuously come up.
And
It's like,
we've had times where it's like the original plan didn't work.
Sure.
We're gonna pivot to B.
Yeah.
B worked 5 times.
Yeah.
Didn't work this
see,
time.
that's
and
another-
now we need to go to pivot to D. And so yes, I think that a key word, and I've told you this before in the gym, of our success has been just pivot.
Yeah.
Being
Yeah.
and being able to do that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. But that's, I mean, and that's a tricky one. And I think it, in an alternate universe or whatever, and you'd be able to speak on this better than I, that David that's just doing on his own, would he be able to handle those pivots?
No.
Maybe 6 of them, maybe the 8th one would have torn him down,
Right.
you know? So that's where it's hard,
Yep.
you know? And again, I
Yep.
don't want to just keep bringing this back to get a good coach, but I think that's where it can really, really help out, because again, on your 5th pivot or whatever, if you didn't have been discouraged, I guess this just doesn't work for me.
Right.
When I'm like, wait, well, pump the brakes, dude.
Right.
We've only tried 4. I got
Yeah,
like
yeah.
97
Yeah,
things we could
exactly.
fucking try,
Right,
you know?
right.
And I'm sure you see that shit in hair. I'm sure
Yes.
you see that in instrument. I can't do it. My pinky can't reach. Therefore, I can't play the song. Hey, bitch,
Right.
why don't you just slide down a fret? Or whatever.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
You got
Yeah.
another hand. You can,
Exactly.
You know? So there's so many, but if I don't know, I don't know.
Right.
You know? And that is real. The perception is real from that person. This didn't work. I don't have any other option.
Yep.
But for me that knows, oh no, you got a billion different
Yeah.
fucking options, man. I got you.
Right.
Like that's fine. And that's where that I got you. Don't stress about it. We got other things. It's all good. That's another huge important thing.
It is.
That I think
Yeah.
fucking people just need, dude.
Yeah.
Like I think they need to know they're not alone. It's okay. These things fucking happen. And again, I have the antidote or the, I can solve that problem easy. We
Right.
got so many other ways that we can fucking attack this,
Right. Right.
Again, if you're trying to build a house and you have one fucking wrench, it's like the same. And it's like, well, that got 97 different wrenches. This is normal, dude.
Right.
But the day one carpenter is probably just going to think he's out of options because he doesn't know you got a size 5/8 metric or whatever, you
Right.
know? So I think that's just another thing that's so important to, find super long-term success. Cause you're just continuously going to get smacked in the face with shit.
Totally.
There's going to be shit you didn't think about. You're going to think, oh, I had this perfect, and you're
Right.
like, what the flying fuck?
Yep.
And for me, just because again, this is what I do and I've been in it for so long, I know like, oh, that's normal.
Yeah.
Like that was not a unique slap in the face.
Right.
I've gotten slapped in the face by that 9,000 fucking times. It's all good, dude.
Yep.
And this is what we're gonna do when it happens again, because it will.
Yep.
You know. So
Right.
again, I just think that's another super important thing.
Yeah. And I'm gonna do your sales pitching for you right here because
Perfect.
you
Beautiful.
said it's like we keep coming back to finding a good coach and it's like no, truly, just to put on record, like I've paid you for every session. Like
Yeah,
you're not
yeah.
giving me anything for free or
Yep.
anything like that. And it's like I see the value in investing in this because this is knowledge that I will take with me for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And am I fortunate to have the extra income to be able to do that?
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sure.
But I do think that like if you're somebody that is on the fence about like, do I try to do this on my own? Do I not? Don't. Like it's not worth your stress, your time to try to do this on your own. Can you have success? Yes, but you're going to be so much less stressed about it by having someone that you can go to and just have a conversation with, even if it's like, dude, this sucks, and you're like, yeah, well, we just need to keep pushing. It's like, okay, well, that is helpful,
Sure.
and that's generally not the conversation for the
Sure.
record, but I will say like. I see the value in it 100%, and I would recommend it to anybody that can do it.
Yeah. No, and obviously I appreciate you sharing all of that. Again, makes me super happy to hear. And I do think also a good even if you don't have unlimited fund or whatever, a good coach can kind of work with some of this stuff as well too. I've throttled back in-person days. I've done this kind of hybrid method of stuff on your own in person. I also don't like gatekeep how long clients need to be with me. I try to communicate through that of like, if you have, again, if you're like, I got $1,000 for this, but I need to span it over 3 months or blah, blah. It's like, I think you can work with that. I think there's people that can just consult with you as well too. So maybe
Right.
it's a little bit less traditional of showing up 3 days a week in a gym and stuff like that. There's also maybe group atmospheres that work
Yep.
as well. But yeah, I do think it's important to be able to chat through these things, all these different life hurdles, because it's going to happen. And I think, honestly, and especially if you live in the United States, Canada, whatever, it's just not conducive. Like it's hard. Like it's not easy, man.
Right.
Like there are going to be people just genetically, they're just not going to have issue because
Right.
of food noise, because they move more, because of blah, 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 But I think there's going to be a huge chunk, obviously. I mean, we can see this with statistics that it's going to be hard.
Right.
So again, just remove it. I should be able to do it. Like, no, dude, no, not in today's day and age where fucking every goddamn fast food place is hyper calorie dense with the most tasty food ever. It is very hard not to overshoot calories on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Same thing with finances. It's hard because shit is fucking expensive. We don't make as much, blah, 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 blah. It's the same thing with food. So don't beat yourself up or feel defeated if you need help with this, because I'm like, yeah, you're normal. I don't know what to say. I think it's the minority that probably don't need help with this at this point in time, you know? And we're seeing a little bit of shift in the tides with different GLP-1s, and we can get to that in a later podcast and stuff. And I think that can help, absolutely. I'm not against it. But I still think having a good coach, because the fitness side is big too. You still need to build right habits and stuff like that. That will absolutely help control hunger and stuff. But I think also trying to nourish yourself with good food and high quality food, getting in the strength training is also very, very important. So even if you're one of those and fit in that mold, I still think it's worthwhile to get the fitness, and honestly, probably more important for those people because they're just going to waste a lot of muscle and whatnot. So, but yeah, again, it's just to wrap that up. It's tricky. It's tricky. If you live in any of these first world countries, you got food around, it's not fucking easy. And I'm sure you've seen that in some of the stuff you've eaten from tracking and whatnot, where fast forwarding a couple months have been eye-opening as shit. Where like, oh my God, that I went through that day really fucking quick. Yeah. I gotta fucking pay attention, you know?
I had one of those days about 3 days ago.
Oh, I'm sure.
You know, and it still happens.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I know.
Yeah. All right, we're at almost 2 hours. Should we wrap this up?
That's what I was going to say.
We've hit a lot of good info, and
I
think we've got a lot of good places to take this later on.
I think that's perfect, because we did kind of somewhat into our history, so they can kind of know what we're working with. We went through leading up to the point of you reaching out, and then a good chunk of that first kind of week and month. I'm sure there's more kind of nuanced stuff that we can go through. But I think just with that, there's going to be a lot of good nuggets for people that will resonate with them. And that was the goal. And that's why I'm like, share some of your history, share some of the food habits from growing up, share some of the body issues you had from growing up and stuff like that. Because again, I need people to know that they're not alone here. Again, it's like we're unique individuals, but not that unique with some of the struggles that we have. And then leading into, again, some of the different voices throughout the years and the decades that they were there, but I didn't do anything. They were there. I didn't do anything. They were there. I did something, but it didn't stick. I gained, or I lost, and I gained it back. Another thing that resonates with probably so many people out here, fucking yo-yo is totally, totally normal. Going on Atkins, going on low keto, or going on keto, going on any of these different things that are pretty restricted, totally, totally common. And then, leading to this ultimate, again, I don't like to see rock bottom, but something where like, all right, I really need to fucking do this. And then reaching out to me, and then us kind of curating this kind of trust and communication of let's fucking do this. Let's do this right. I got your back, but have some trust on me. But please also challenge and ask though. Like if it's in your head, please get it out, dude. I'm not perfect either and stuff like that. There'll probably be some things I'm going to be like, I don't really know, but I'm going to try to figure this out for you. And I promise you, if we stick through this, your life can be entirely changed within 6 months to a year. And I know at first, like, that's a long, is it fucking really, dude? Like, especially now, I'm 34. How old are you?
32.
30. I mean, these years are going by so fucking quick, dude. It's scary. So it's like, let's invest this. Let's communicate through this. And I promise you, if you follow through, this could be totally life-changing. And I think you believe me with all that stuff, which made things easier. And we were able to communicate through that first weeks and months, and obviously through this whole entire time. And it overall worked well. I'm sure we hit some snags. I can't think of specifically stuff. We'll see if we can going forward. And then that kind of led us through that first kind of month, you know? So,
and I mean, you're absolutely right. Like I'm happy to say that like my life is totally different, and that was a massive catalyst to it being totally different. So yeah, that's a good place to wrap.
Cool.
Awesome.
But yeah, let's wrap that up, and then we'll try to do, we're going to try to keep jumping in on these when we can. I think this actually went well. And I figured it would. Like, these are all for anyone out there still watching. They're fucking awkward in the beginning. You're like, where do we start? Like, I don't know. And
we literally sat down. I was like, I'm just pressing the record button.
I think, and that's kind of what I want to do is like, we just start talking, and then you like, don't even tell me, just go. Or else you're like, dude, like, and feeling all weird. Where's the camera at? But again, the whole goal here is sharing two different perspectives of people that have made, you know, some incredible life changes with stuff it's not fucking easy. And a lot of people are after this. A lot of people are after losing 50, 60 fucking pounds, keeping it off, looking fucking amazing, adding so much strength and muscle in a relatively short period of time. And then also not feeling like, oh, this sucks. I can't wait to get back. That's another huge important distinction of I want this to feel good, you know,
Right.
and you're not like chasing to go back to whatever the fuck that is,
Yep.
you know?
Yep.
So I think kind of next time we jump in, we'll just start where we kind of left off.
Yep.
So we got through that first couple weeks and then we'll kind of go through there. And I want to paint this basically whole entire year. And then
Yep.
we'll keep sharing the different struggles and hurdles and way that we combat them and the different strategies we use to make sure that this was again smooth and as frictionless as possible. But also again, we need to share any snags and hangups physically, mentally, spiritually, whatever, you know, because that's just reality of
Yeah,
how it goes.
absolutely.
You know? So
Yep.
but cool.
All right.
Sweet,
Sweet.
man.